welcome to Android, and I'm Praveen Singer, chapter lead for Android in Metrobank. So this is the third time, like I said, we are hosting the Android event. I hope I can see familiar faces from last time as well. So yeah, so if you are new to Metrobank event, I'll just give you a brief introduction about what Metrobank is. Metrobank, we are the youngest bank after 100 years, high street bank in UK, and one of the faster growing banks in UK as well. And we have a dedicated team for our products. We have, if you are a banking customer, you will see the Metrobank retail app and the corporate app if you are a business customer. So yeah, so like most of you, we do the same way development like any other bank, and like we try to promote the technology as well as our bank by facilitating these events and submitting events. And thank you for Android for contacting us and also giving us opportunity time to time and the time to talk. So here we go. So robot pattern for UI testing. So anyone who already used robot pattern, I would like to keep this very interactive. And anyone who has experience with robot, yeah. So there are people who use the robot pattern, and there are different ways of doing that. And like normally when it comes to Android and the Google, we use the UI testing for using Espresso, and that's the recommendation. Robot pattern is none other than a design pattern. So there's no library or there's no separate SDK, there's nothing. It's just normal design pattern that you implement for different purpose. This is mainly used in the larger scale app. That doesn't mean that you cannot use in a smaller scale app. Let's go about the history and where the robot pattern comes from. So originated by Jake. So if you know Jake Wharton, so he has contributed to the Android community a lot. And like there are, if you search, there are a lot of articles about the design patterns, how to do different implementation, different problems solved. So he is the one who came up with the this is what I found it in the internet, but like apparently he is the one who came up with the robot pattern to solve a problem where we have Android Espresso, so it's get more, the boilerplate is very high, and also like we have to write a lot of UI assertions as well as the UI code in order to write test, and the readability wise it's going to be a big problem when your test suite starts growing. So one of the things he came up with this pattern, how to separate your UI assertions and the events, and then how to make your code very readable so that even a non-technical person goes to your code and try to see what it is, and they will be able to clearly understand what is happening in your code. So this promotes reusability, like I said in here, and if I go to the previous slides, and also it's kind of trend, like most of the people started using in robot pattern, and we'll see how it goes. If you are not start using, I recommend you start use, because it will make your life much more easier. The next one is why prioritize UI testing in Android development. So I know like we all have testing teams. We when it comes to the development, we do the development and then we write unit test, but some people don't write UI test because they have testing team do the automation using APM or any other kind of tool. So why we need UI testing is just for us developers to make sure that what we develop is compatible, whether it's error free, before it goes to the testing circles. And the other thing is, if you take Android, there are lots of devices coming in every day. And if we have these kinds of UI tests that we have written, I'm not talking about specifically with the robot pattern, like when it comes to the UI testing. So what I love about UI testing is what we need as a bank. We cater a lot of customers. When it comes to the customer base, customers use different devices. With the new changes coming in, so we are having a problem about the compatibility of the application, whether our app's compatible with the latest versions, latest devices. Now we have fold, we can turn the device around, lots of things happening. So the UI is covering from the bottom bar. So those are the recent issues that everybody faces. So by having UI testing and running it in automation pipelines, different devices, we identify lots of issues before we go into production, and which helps us to rectify those issues as soon as possible. So giving us a better chance, giving a good quality product to our customers. And also something that as Metro Banks, what we do is we do screenshot testing. So we have a base UI screenshot and compare with the other platforms and see, is there any color differences or shade differences, or the component has been changed the position. So that's something that you can use UI testing for. So while saying that, so you start writing UI testing. The first approach everyone goes is the traditional way of writing UI test using Espresso, a similar way of you write the unit testing. So when it comes to the robot pattern, so the robot pattern mainly promotes the encapsulating the UI logic, the UI events, and the assertion part inside of a robot. So let's say you have in normal terms, you have a UI screen, and then you have a use case, and then you have your whatever repository or network managers, those things. So each layer have their different tasks. So you have different layers to do different tasks, and then also you are encapsulating similar way you are encapsulating or you are hiding main UI assertion part as well as the UI navigation part, let's say the click events, the scrolling events inside of a robot, so that what you show in your exact test is just the navigation. So how you move from one step to another step in here. And also like I said, we have separation of concerns and your encapsulation part, and your main logic is not visible into your main test, but then that promotes the ability of understanding it much more clearly. So even a new developer or a junior developer comes in, they will easily understand how this has been written. So these are the key benefits of having robot pattern. So like I said, improvement of readability, and the maintainability of code is really important. So each class have each robot, and the you should be, if a test failed, you can easily identify where is the problem is, and you don't have to go through everywhere to find the root cause. And because you are separating the concerns, probably with the events, you can have a common event class, and from that you are duplicating, you are reducing the duplication. So I will show you how that works. And like I said, separation of concerns, there are lots of benefits with this pattern. And this doesn't mean that you cannot write the traditional way of UI testing in a scalable way, in a more readable way, but this is another way of showing that this is another way that we can show how something is done, how the UI testing can be written in a different manner. So how traditional Espresso tests work is you have your text mix UI actions and the assertions. Like I said, in your test you have to write the actions, the performance, click event, scroll event, and also you are doing the assertions as well inside of the test. And it becomes more repetitive. So even in the same class, you have to, if you wanted to write the test, you have to do the same thing again and again. And maintenance-wise, it's hard because there will be lots of duplicate codes, and also in order to change something, you have to change it different places. So for this reason, so it's a personal choice why you wanted to use different design pattern rather than the way that you traditionally do. So just because there's a pattern that everyone promotes, if that doesn't suit your project, so that's a decision that you have to make. Because sometimes what I see is people go behind the trend and then start adopting different things, and then end up with having much more complicated code base. So regardless of the design patterns, first you need to understand, looking at your code, whether it suits or not. So, but when it comes to robot pattern, these are the benefits and the differences with the traditional UI testing as well in the robot pattern. Readability wise, robot pattern promotes high readability, so you can easily find out which screen we are in, what is the order of the actions that we perform. Maintainability wise, which is really easy. If I will show you the code, and you will understand like how easy to maintain, how easy to change an action. Also, code duplication is very less, and clarity of the test, even a junior developer, even a non-technical person able to read and understand. Scalability wise, like we discussed, and the learning curve is a little bit higher because it's a different pattern, but again, once you learn it, like, it's easy to implement and continue. Okay, so how to write a robot pattern UI test. So first of all, like any other test, you have to identify what is the component you want to test, or what is the screen you want to test. Then you start creating a robot class. In this robot class, you define your interactions and the assertions that you wanted to perform in that particular screen, and then you write in a reusable way that you can call that in your test cases, and then start writing the robot pattern test cases. So yeah, so I will go and show you how we write a robot pattern. So these are some information that I found out in the internet where people use robot pattern, and then how they get benefits out of it. So according to the stats, Spotify uses robot pattern, and there are the same thing. I need to repeat same thing. Like I said, like, it's very scalable, very readable, and it saves your time. So that's the theory part of it. So I will go to the code base. So first, let's start running our application. I will show what the application is about. It's a very small app. So you have 3 screens. Let's run. I have connected it to a movie database, which you type a page number, it will give you a list of movies that you have. Once you select a movie, then it goes to the detail page, and then you go back. Simple as that. Very simple application. Let's say 5. If I press continue, it shows me a list of movies, and then I press, you goes there to the detail page, and then you go back. We are in this previous page, and then if I go here and then press sign out, it goes back to the original page that we there, and then we can put another number. The same thing repeats. So how to write a robot pattern for this? So I'll show you. If I were to write, so this is just for the demo purpose. I know you guys are much more better developers than myself. You guys write better tests. So this is just like within the limited time that I had, I wrote some espresso tests just to cover this one. So you can use you can hide these things in different classes, but like traditionally, this is a sample of espresso test that we could write to do that scenario. And if you go to a full test, it will not look like this, but like this is what the assertion and the events, the actions would look like. And when it comes to a robot pattern, the first thing that we do is creating a robot. So my first screen is where that I put the logic, which is the page number. I will create a logic robot, which will, under the methods, I am putting my actions and the assertions I need to show. First, I need to enter a number, then I would like to click continue, and then because it's a network call, I wanted to wait, and then I wanted to see what the assertion is. Even though and the next one would be the list one. Like you said, like if I go here, if I go here, the screens. So this is my list screen. I wanted to wait till my data loaded, and then I want to load the screen, and then I wanted to click item at some point. And I have, because this is Jetpack Compose, I have used the node tags to identify the component, and then I have done the assertions and the actions that I need. And then the movie detail robot, and then I need to load the movie details, and then this is the drawer, which is, this is the detail page. Wrong event, sorry. This is the detail page, and then this is the drawer. I press sign out, click sign out. I would go into the first one. Yeah. So if I go to my test, so if I want to run my flow, so this is normal, the traditional your HILT UI test, but the difference is I have used the robot pattern to execute the methods. So the first screen that I wanted to go is the logic screen. This is my logic screen. So if you can see, you can see that, right? Yeah, you can see. First I wanted to go inside the logic screen, and then I wanted to enter a number. I wanted to commit the input, and then I want to click continue, and then if there's an error, I want to show the error. This is to show error, and this is if there's an error that I needed to show. The second test which I write is I wanted to go to the logic screen, enter the number, and then I want to go to the movie list, and then I wanted to go to the details screen. So as you can see, as I mentioned, it's clearly defined the scope. It clearly shows which screen is first, which screen is next, and then the workflow. And it's, rather than writing a traditional way, ultimately we are writing the same code, but it is hidden under the robot. So if you go to the logic screen, and this is the logic robot, is all the actions, like I said, all the actions are in here. So this is the beauty of this design pattern, like you can encapsulate everything under and then still make, and then you can make it very readable. In the last one, I defined the entire workflow that I wanted to, screen by screen, action by action, dependent screen. So because of the DSL, magic of Kotlin DSL, we can scope out and then we can write it like very clearly. And if we run the test, hopefully it will run. Didn't run for quite a while. We'll see. Hopefully it will run server, right? Yeah. Yeah. If I invalidate cache and run it again, it will definitely run. Welcome to Android Studio. So while we do that, so any questions? I know it's not a big lecture, but is there anything? Yes, please.
If we're talking about test, where are assertions in this test?
Yeah. So the assertions are inside the inside of the robot. So in here, if I go to the login screen, I have the assertions in here. So you can this is to make sure that the error is loaded, the assertion part is there. So you can have different methods. If you wanted to get the assertion in a different method, still you can do that. So rather than showing error, you can say show error, and then you can take into another method and say assert the error. So as long as it makes sense to you, as long as it's readable for your project, you can do it.
I have another question. How non-developer user is able to differentiate which action is action and which action is assertion?
That's about how you write it. So actions are something that you do, right? So I don't expect non-developers to read the code and understand what the actions and all, but I will expect non-developers to read and understand how this test works, like in here. But if you ask non-developer to understand the action, one thing is, if you click normal, what are the actions that we perform on a mobile, like it's with the keywords, you will be easily able to understand, like performance, perform this action, or scroll the view. So those kind of action keywords. But when it comes to the assertion, it's always says the assertion, in my understanding. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Simple improvement by adding assert keyword to assertions and
Yeah.
be easily visible.
Yeah. So if you wanted, so what do you mean? You mean by a method? Yes, of course you can. So if I were to take these two methods out and then and create another method and say assert error, you can.
To renaming show error to assert.
Of course you can. Yeah. I just wanted to show the behavior of the thing rather than the assertion part, so that because when someone look into it, is for us is testing part, but when someone to look it, like actually show the error, we are the one who is defined like whether we are showing the error or not. That part. But again, as you said, like you can rename it the way that you want. But in my case, I would like to see like what's the next action is. To say like I would like to say the next one is show error or to go. It's your personal preference, to be honest. Yeah. Of course, like you said, like it makes sense sometimes. Rather than show error, you can say assert error. Yes, please.
Yes, that's one question. You have, is it possible to write a robot with ability to interact with system, like turn off permission or something like this?
That I haven't tried, to be honest.
Yes.
It's possible. It should be possible. Yeah.
It's abstraction.
It's because yeah.
It's like just.
Yeah. So because when you give like location permission or anything like that, even to go to the system, like you should be able to write that, because we can write it in Espresso. It's the same thing that we are writing here. You can open the system dialog and then navigate to that. Sometimes we do like talkbacks in there. So in order to write those kind of tests as well, so you can use that. It's the same thing as Espresso. Only thing is where you gonna place it. Yes.
Do you use it on production?
We use this in. What do you mean production?
With your Metro Bank application.
Yeah. So we have robot pattern test there. So we are running it like nightly builds to run the UI testing. Yeah. When you say production, we don't connect it to the production. We have stubs running in those. So that's how we do the UI testing part.
I was thinking about production application. So
Yeah, production application. Yes, we do that.
And what's your recommendation for scaling to a big number of robot tests?
So it's big number of robot tests. So it's not the same way that we have written. So we have separate like common events abstracted in separately. So we are using that because so here also there are lots of duplications happening. Just because of demo, I didn't went to the extent of like having a generic perform click or generic assertion kind of event to go to the abstraction. But again, with the robot pattern, you will introduce lots of boilerplates because each test you will have a different robot. But again, when it comes to, because our development team is more dynamic, we have lots of contractors working on. So we have most of the time we have like commonly used abstracted layers are there, so that we can use, especially for the events. Only thing that you need to do is you are implementing a new feature, you can call those events and create your own robot and then follow the pattern that we have done. So in that context, it's given us a flexibility because the learning curve for onboarding new developers is much easier for us. But again, it gives lots of boilerplate code because there will be lots of classes adding for each and every test scenarios. You have a robot as well as the test class coming in. But again, the flexibility. So if you compare the pros and cons, the pros are high scalability wise and the learning curve wise. Because we have dynamically, we have people in here, we have people in India, and the Indian teams are changing quite frequently. Different features take different feature teams. So in our case, it is very helpful for us with the learning curve and adaptability for the people. Yes.
I'm not sure how you function as a internally experience is similar. But
yeah.
Have you connected it to like user stories? So
yes.
Describe a feature.
So we have the user story, we have the epics and user stories, and then we have the tasks that derive from the user stories for Android and iOS, and then for these, let's say the tickets. So so acceptance criteria is there. So that's where it says like, as a customer of Metro Bank, you will start from this thing, then you go to this thing. So the behavior is defined in the user story. So this should 90 to 95%. So the acceptance criteria and the behavior written in the user story match exactly with the test case that we written. So if you take the first one, like in here, the flow test. So this could be a story like, as a customer, I wanted to log in, and then I wanted to enter the number, this one, and then I wanted to click, and then I want to navigate to the next screen. So basically, if you take one or a couple of acceptance criteria in a ticket, if you are working on a flow, then it should more or less match exactly what it is. Yes.
You mentioned that there is a lot of boilerplate. Have you tried using AI to generate?
As a bank, we are governed with lots of regulators, so exposing our code into the AI is not something that we are doing at the moment. We are working on our own AI, but at the future we might do that. But like there are, because of a bank and working with lots of customers, we haven't done that, to be honest. Yep. Sorry. No.
Do you use the same pattern for iOS?
Sorry?
Do you use the same pattern for iOS?
For iOS, no. So iOS, I'm actually not sure, to be honest. It's mentioned, but like iOS is different. Like I'm sure, like they are using a similar pattern, but I'm not sure whether they are using exactly robot pattern or not. Good question, though. I will talk to the iOS chapter lead and see. Yeah. Yeah. Yes, please.
Slightly off topic, you said the CI pipeline runs those tests on what kind of emulator? Using Firebase Test Lab, something else?
No, so we have Source Labs. It's a product, and so we have real devices in the Source Lab. So
Device farm.
yeah, device farm. So we publish it to the Source Lab and run it on the Source Lab. So that's where they give us the advantage of doing compatibility testing as well, because we can select the devices that we want and run the test over and over again. And yeah.
How do you go with the test?
Sorry?
All tests go into login screen?
No, so we do sharding. So yeah, so
You have a
with
robot which is like analog the user.
sorry,
You have a robot which is analog the user, analog the screen, and whatever.
sorry, I think I
Go
didn't
through the screens in every test, like from login.
get you. So you're asking.
The question is if you're testing always full flow journey from the beginning, or you test in isolation, that you jump, for example, to home screen and do operation on home screen.
So no, what we have is we have a we have a offline testing scenarios. So we have so let's say in our app we have a set of mocks, and then we have created list of scenarios in our. So we have different apps. We have debug version of our app, we can see. So we have list of scenarios like user login, success path, user login, error scenarios. We have created a list in our app. When you open the app, this list pops up. This list we have different scenarios: transaction successful, transaction error message, transaction error. So you can perform a test manually without UI test. Forget about the UI test or anything like that. You can click on that link, click on that item, list item, and then app will launch again and will only show you that particular scenario. So we run through those scenarios, so you don't have to run like go to the login screen every time. So our test is going through that list. So in that case, the advantage for us is even though the backend is not ready, if the contract is ready, what we do is first thing what we create is we create the mocks to the contract, and then we run those scenarios on the mock. We create the UI, and then even though the UI backend is not ready, we can run the app. We can create those scenarios, success criteria and the edge case scenarios, and then we can test this. Even offline mode, not programmatically. You get the app, put it in the phone, you select whatever the scenario you wanted to run, and then app will launch in that scenario mode. So that's how we do. Like when we do the sharding as well, then we divide the scenarios and like do the sharding part in the stubs. But total integration testing is done by the testing teams using Appium. So that gives us a flexibility. So that's one of the reasons. The reason behind that is like it's easier. Otherwise, like we have to go through like logging screen and everything and all. And also it gives us flexibility to the demos. And also if we let's say if the incident happened, we know the data. If we see like okay, like from the Firebase, if we see this kind of a scenario, we can think of a scenario and create a scenario quickly, and then and then run it. So that framework is already there. Cool then, guys. Thank you very much. That's it.